It's hard to believe that we are already getting ready to end week one of a 8-week study. I really enjoyed getting to know a little bit about each one of you and appreciate you uh, sending me your text preferences. In the written announcement, I will print out the chart so that you know the assigned text you have as well as the other people in your group. Each of the groups will have 2 to 3 people in them, so that's a good setting for us. I think you'll find that very profitable. I said I would talk more about the sermon today. I again want to reiterate that with your assigned text, the process we are working on is studying the text for ourselves, which means that I study and prepare my own text. I don't go listen to this person or that person or somebody else. It is my personal work with the ministry of the Holy Spirit doing that. The second thing is, I'm going to ask you for an integrity statement that you have not listened to any other preacher about this text. Okay? The second part is you can use notes or manuscript. There are various ways of preaching. Preaching without notes is one system of some people, but for many of us, including myself, I've become so engrossed in the preaching that I lose my way if I don't have something to help me keep on track. And I go off on a wild goose chase, and so that's... Now, I will say that I hate to preach from a manuscript, because what I find is I get my nose down into the manuscript and I'm reading along and I lose all contact with my audience. So I usually practice a sermon probably half a dozen times before I ever preach. Part of it is just going over the outline and my notes. Part of it is also literally preaching the sermon in my office at least once, and if not twice. And sometimes when I don't feel as comfortable doing it, I do it a third time before the people ever see me. In a place where I served as pastor in various places as an interim as well as a permanent pastor, if I could, I would arrive at this church much earlier than anybody else would ever arrive, and I would preach the sermon in that setting so that I have bigger perspective on it. So that's that. The second statement in the assignment of the sermon is that it's to be done in a church setting. I'd like to change the word to a ministry setting. Now, some of you have some challenges about that, and I understand that. I just want to say this. For as many years that I have preached and as many sermons as I have preached, I get energy from participating in worship and then standing to preach. When I have an audience, when I practice my sermon here in my office versus when I preach it, people would say, well, that is totally different. Yeah, it is, even though I try to give it strong energy and I gesture and I, do all those kinds of things. It's a challenge to preach without an audience. Very difficult. And your grade will reflect that. So those are some things that I wanted to just chat with you heart to heart about. The video will want to be back far enough. You can see the top part of my body. If I gestured, you hardly saw my hand go there. It went across the screen. So it needs to be back enough so that when I gesture, that you can see my hands and I can see your feet. So that's a large picture and to get that perspective. So that's where we're headed. It's not this week. We have the reading in Mathewson and the reading in Pennington, and and a paper to turn in and a discussion board. So you're off and running. God bless you. You have a wonderful weekend of worship with God's people.